I do want to ask something that happened in the chat that actually Ryan brought up is the fact that Democrats are doing a good job at convincing non-political people that Republicans want to impeach Obama. They are? I mean, maybe in this circle, and I have kind of a liberal circle, but maybe in this circle, I don't see that. But I could be wrong.
Actually, a lot of people are very critical. They go back and forth. Is it wise? Is it unwise? Is it risky strategy? Is it not? But I personally, here in Colorado, I am leading the charge, leading the movement to impeach Joe Biden. I've had enough of him, and he needs to go down.
Yeah, I think this is an issue. This is a huge issue that we've kind of not wanted to talk about in hopes that it would go away. It did. When it came up the last time, it went away pretty quick. Sarah Palin had her whole, craziness up with oh, we got to impeach now, we got to do that. And then all of the radio show hosts came up with that and decided that, all right, now that's the issue that's going to get stuff done this week, and it didn't, and nothing happened. Thankfully, we didn't get trapped into that sinkhole before the election in November. But now we actually have a legitimate threat for impeachment getting through the House and the Senate. There's some possibility that might happen. Having that dredged back up, 2 years. 2 years, that's it. And in 2 years, we have to run for president. We have to get somebody to run for president. And if the last thing that the voters in America have to think about, the last thing on their, the taste in their mouth is Republicans trying to kick a guy out of office in his last 2 years, I don't know. It's real tough. It's a real tough sell for me.
There's very few people on the right, any leaders or representatives that I really hear talking about impeachment. You see a sound clip here and there, but it's the same sound clip. Sometimes it's 6 to 8 months old. It's from someone who's not in power, or if they are in Congress or the Senate, they don't have a big role. But the left and all their blogs and news sites keep bringing it up, like Huffington Post and Mother Jones, and they're claiming all the leadership is clamoring for impeachment, and it's not really true. But I see a lot of non-political people in my Google Plus stream and in my Facebook stream saying, this is so stupid, why are you trying to impeach him? He hasn't done anything. Republicans are just so dumb, they're trying to stop everything that he wants to do for the good of the country. And these aren't people that are really that liberal, but all they know is Jon Stewart said they're trying to impeach him and made fun of him, so hey, they're on his side. Republicans are stupid. And Fishy shared an article that I'll let her talk about that talks about how the Democrats are setting this narrative up, and it's kind of working for them. I mean, it's probably not as good as they'd hoped it would be, but it is reaching some people out there.
Right. This article is from Dave Weigel. I keep bringing Dave Weigel up. And it's called The Democrats' Impeachment Ruse, and it's at Bloomberg.com, and we'll put it in the chat for people. But basically he's going through and saying, if you read progressive media, you would think that Republicans had bold, big, stupid plans. At Mother Jones, you can find a list of 8 conservatives who would impeach Obama over immigration. And then there's a National Memo and HuffPo, where they've been talking about Charles Krauthammer saying that the insistence on executive amnesty would be an impeachable offense. And Weigel goes on to say, let's be clear, there are conservative voices asking for the president to be impeached, or at least threatened with impeachment. But when you look at the list of people that they are saying 8 conservatives, only a few are even in office. And not many, I mean, some of them have actually been removed from office and whatever. But he says, so a lot of people are talking on the left about this, but why are Democrats and progressives hyping it? Not to raise money, as they did during the midterms. They are trying, Weigel says, to discredit opposition to the executive amnesty, to make the president's actions seem less controversial by amplifying its most extreme critics. It can only last as long as the more intense members of the GOP indulge the fantasy and until the reality of financial shutdowns with Congress veto threats over the defunding of executive order emerges. So there could be a crisis, he's saying, in terms of what the president is going to do and how Congress responds. But that this is nowhere near a huge groundswell on the right. I think a lot of people realize we are 2 years out from a presidential election. I think a lot of people realize that the resources spent, political capital on impeachment are going to be wasted instead of being turned toward how do we win and continue to win and continue to win over the long haul. Impeachment mathematically can't be achieved in this Congress either. So unless you're making a particular political statement with it, it's impossible to do, to get a conviction, to get a removal. So I know people are passionate. I know people think they have a long list that they keep in their drawers or on their hard drives of all the things that Obama has done that are impeachable. I don't disagree with a lot of them, but when you're looking at what can I practically achieve versus the way I think the world ought to be, you really need to look at the practical, and everyone needs to reconsider that is talking about it, that it's not going to be an effective strategy, and it's going to do much more harm than good. And the folks in the middle are going to react the way that you were talking about, Brian. They're going to react with, well, they're just picking on the president. We don't own those message transmissions that Jon Stewart does have. So we're not going to be hitting those people the way that, with our messaging, the way that Jon Stewart is. And we have to acknowledge that. They're making a choice, and it's not a comfortable one. Do they underbus Obama in the service of the next candidate, or is he going to allow his legacy to fall by the wayside in order to promote the next person?